right? You've got these green areas here. These are all lymph nodes that go throughout your body. So you have lymph nodes that are part of the lymphatic system. You know, your circulatory system, right? So your circulatory system is basically in and out, in and out. You have it goes out of the heart and then back into the heart. And it goes everywhere. It's in your brain, it goes down to your fingers and capillaries. And the lymphatic system actually follows the exact track of the circulatory system. Because when you look at your body, 90% of your body's waste and toxins are moved through your circulatory system. But the other 10%, the larger proteins, the fats, the lipids, they don't get transported because they're too big to go into the vessels and capillaries. So they go into the lymphatic system. They take that up. So in a normal, healthy person, you have this balance, and it's not a one-on-one balance, it's a 90-10% balance. And when you start taxing your circulatory system, which is easy just by standing, breathing, moving, eating, everything affects your lymphatic, your circulatory system. So when that can no longer do 90% of the job, maybe it's now it can only do 80% because it's been slowed down, gravity. Well, the lymphatic system has to pick up that. So now the lymphatic system no longer is working at 10%, it's 20%. And so that's your waste removal system. So whenever that's getting clogged, you're not able to be moving anything out of your system easily. So what I like to teach people is that, and I'm not even going to follow this because I'm trying to go pretty fast, but if you want to see, so the lymphatic system, when you start to get swelling, they say it's, you know, water-based from your heart, right? Your heart can't pump enough, and so your veins aren't draining back into your heart enough or pulling back up to your system, that you'll start to get some swelling in your legs and feet. And everybody kind of gets that from standing all day. You know, your feet feel a little bit heavier than they were, or you can actually sometimes physically measure it. Well, that typically begins as a water base. So the water will push out of your veins and go into the tissues and not be able to be reabsorbed back in. So once your lymphatic system starts breaking down, what happens is it starts leaking its proteins into the capillary bed and the tissues. And so then with water and this protein base, it starts to become stagnant, and they start to stick together, and you can start pressing into where you see pitting. And so that when that happens, that means your lymphatic system has broken down, and now it can no longer even, you know, compensate for the body. But this is, if you can kind of see, I don't know from the side, this is somebody who has lymphedema, and then she was wrapped, or she wore compression stockings or whatever she had to do to kind of press all of that fluid back, to drain it back into the body. So you physically have to like push it, and that's what lymphatic massage or manual lymph drainage does as a natural strategy without having to take any medicine. So this is the after effect of after having either manual lymph drainage or wearing compression stockings. And it's always something that you have to manage. Now this is elephantitis. It's elephantitis. It's not the, what's the elephant guy? The elephant, the elephant man, yeah. They kept saying that the elephant man had elephantitis, but actually that's a whole totally different DNA issue going on with him. But a lot of times when people talk about lymphedema, they say the elephant man, but it's really not the same thing. But you can see, you know, you ever see these people walking around with their legs?
Can that be prevented? And if it cannot, if it's genetic, then what can they do to get rid of it?
It can be prevented by, you have to watch what you're eating. You have to exercise regularly.
Massages?
If you get massages, certain massages, yeah. If you're well, you don't have to get the manual lymph drainage. But if you have some sort of issue going on in your legs where you're getting swelling, that's when the manual lymph drainage, you know, works. So It also can be caused by a parasite, and it's called filariasis. So it's over in some third world countries that a bacteria gets in and causes this to happen. So there's also lipolipidemia, which people, they sometimes can just look like they're fat, but it's actually that their body can't process and remove all that waste. So the lymphatic system, it increases its workload. There's always a constant strain on the lymphatic system, again, because if you're eating food that you have allergy to, well, your body then has to provide, things to take that allergy down, histamine, and so now your lymphatic system has to take up the slack and move more out. So the more you're putting in your body that's causing inflammation, the more your lymphatic system's going to have to work. And when it finally gets to a breaking point, and that's different for everybody, mine already broke down, yours probably is still good because you don't have any swelling or anything in your legs, right? No. So your lymphatic system is working better than mine. But there's always an influence, and you can always do things to support your lymphatic system to support all the other systems in your body. So I'm going to so the way you can truly support your lymphatic system very, very easily is paying attention to your spine. You always want to have the three natural curves. You have the cervical curve, the thoracic, and then the lumbar. And
maintain good positioning at all times.
Yes. So you want to keep a good posture. You want your ear over your shoulder, over your hip, over your ankle. So by doing that, you're going to get the best nerve flow, the best blood flow out to your extremities. On top of that, joint positioning. So if you sit all day, you want to make sure you get up and move around, because right now, if you're sitting, you could be limiting the blood flow back to your heart just by being in that sitting position. If you think of your body as like a hose, when you start to compress a hose, you get less water coming out of it. And then what happens when you get off that hose? It's like a big burst of water, right, that comes out. And so think of that like occurring in your body. You're like these surges of like pressure going through every time you're sitting for long periods of time or getting up and down. All right? So I'm not going to go on any more than that, but
yoga also helps.
Yoga also helps,
positions.
so I can teach you some yoga, but one thing that everybody can do all the time, and everybody knows when you say take a big deep breath, what are you telling people to do?
Stand straight.
Calm down, right? So most people take a big deep breath and they go, and they lift up. But what you want to do is you want to take that big deep breath through your belly, because you want to pull the diaphragm down. Because if you think about when you start to breathe in and you pull up, you're actually pulling your diaphragm up, which is limiting the amount of oxygen you can actually get into your body. Plus you're kind of lifting and compressing. So when you look at breathing through your diaphragm, and that just means kind of breathing, and your belly should rise, your low ribs, and your chest should rise, 3 parts. That you're actually stimulating your vagal nerve, which is actually decreases your heart rate. So when you stimulate your vagus nerve, it tells your body to relax your heart rate. So if you take that deep diaphragmatic breath, your body has no other choice but to slow and calm down. So if you're ever stressed out and somebody says take a big deep breath, try to remember doing it through the belly. Now you don't want to do the belly breath when you're standing or exercising. You want to use the low ribs and the chest. But so positioning of your spine and diaphragmatic breathing will be 2 easy things that you can do for your lymphatic system.